us when we're live. Are you on my face? Hi! Hello, filmmakers! We are live at NAB show in the Blackmagic Design and NAB show booth. And I am so very, very excited to talk to one of my favorite companies, stYpe, and DJ, who's a product specialist, is here with me. DJ, thanks for coming and stopping by. Just really quick, where is your guys' booth so those who are watching who are here can go see you?
It's in the central booth. It's in a central hall, and you can see like a huge blue booth and it says stYpe.
You've got to go see it, y'all, because stYpe, the things they're doing with tracking and green screen removal and LED walls, it gets me tingly. So for those of you who are not familiar with stYpe, can you tell us or tell the audience basically what is stYpe? What is your main thing that you guys do? Because I know you do a lot.
Yeah, we do a lot, and then I think it could be very useful for filmmakers. Primarily, we're doing tracking, so it's camera tracking, and our prime product is a RedSpy. That's an optical tracking system inside out, so it's looking up in the markers or down, and it tracks the camera. It's as precise as possible. It's pretty much the most known product, the most precise product as far as camera tracking goes. Besides RedSpy, we also have a follower. Follower system is also optical tracking system. Besides camera tracking, it tracks people and objects. So if you need some like foreground elements, you would need a follower system. And we also have like a mechanical tracking. Mechanical tracking would be stYpe Kit, Vinton as well, and our software solutions that you mentioned, which is Green Killer, which is part of stYpeland. stYpeland is a whole suite of different software that you can use.
When I was most excited about stYpe, so they're already doing cool things, but one of the things that blew my mind was that when I saw someone in front of a green screen, not only did it kill the green screen, which, you know, people see that in virtual production, but yeah, you are tracking. Like if the host is walking, the floor, the shadows, everything are moving with the host. So it's very cool and exciting. Now guys, they do big things. I mean, we're talking like halftime show, big things. But what I want to talk to you about today with our particular audience, Blackmagic Collective, the Working Director, Female Filmmaker Collective, is how can indie filmmakers utilize this? Like, you've been out in the field, you've used the tech, you've actually done all that. If I'm just like, say, you know, I'm an indie filmmaker, I want to make, I don't know, I want to make there's so many things. I can do so many things with you. I can't think of one. Like, you know, I can do anything from being on a spaceship to just hosting my YouTube channel. What do you recommend? Like, where do they start? Because there's so much, it's so overwhelming. So tell me, where would I start?
I mean, first of all, you have to figure out where you're going to film it. So do you have a green screen or you have LED wall? So that's like, I guess, like a first thing, like what studio provides. The studio where we met luckily had both options.
Yes.
So it had like a green screen and LED wall, so where you could use Green Killer, which is the keyer for the green screen. And you mentioned we catch all the reflections and the shadows, and it's because we are scanning the exact shade of green. So that's why we're able to get unbelievable results. Even the hair gets keyed perfectly. If you have an option to have a LED screen, you can use our stYpe XR, and you can use like a set extension, and you can do basically whatever you imagine.
They have two. Where we were at when we met, it was two 10 by 10 LED walls, and I'm like, what are you gonna do in this tiny space? And they made a whole cafe. It went above the LED walls, it went to the side of the LED walls. Like, you just extended everything digitally, so you had a whole cafe in this small space. So that's one thing I think is exciting for indie filmmakers, because we can't afford to go spend $20,000 a day on a volume stage. But you're like, hey, if I have a small wall, we can use stYpe's technology to make it feel bigger.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
That's a set extension, and basically you make it 360. So you can basically do whatever you can imagine.
Just those of you who are watching, please make sure that you are putting in your questions. And could the audience stop to get, it's so funny because right now I don't even know if my camera's on because our producer, my husband, you all know him as actor, writer, John Curtis, say hello to the audience. He's being distracted by people who are asking questions because they're all excited to be here. If you have questions, send them in because he is manning them and he can let us know. And I really watch this later too because we're going to put in some B-roll to show you a little more of what we're talking about when we cut this because it's so cool and it's very technical, so it's kind of hard to describe, which is why I'm like, go to their booth. So now we make a choice. Let's say we made a choice as indie filmmaker. I can only afford a green screen. And I want to do a scene where I'm in a castle. So obviously I need set pieces of some kind to bring it forward, right? To do the 3D. Mm-hmm. Where does stYpe help me make that castle work?
Well, first of all, you need someone to create that set. And then as far as our part goes, you would get tracking. This case, if you don't need anything virtual in front of you, you can use RedSpy, which would be camera tracking, and you would use stYpe, primarily green killer, to key it out green screen. If you need any foreground elements, virtual elements in front of you, you would need a follower system. And that way, with little beacons, the camera, the system knows where you're at in the space. So basically, if you have you're shooting a Star Wars, and then you have a little R2-D2 in front of you, you can go in front of him and behind him, and it's going to look natural.
It's so cool. That's one of the cool things about the technology is even just simple things like if you want to be holding a shield on your castle set, right? And you want some elaborate shield, and maybe it even has effects or fire or something that's almost impossible to make in real or very expensive to make in real. You guys have your tracker. I can just be holding that and you can track this animated thing we've created to be in my hand or whatever we can think. It's endless. The possibilities are endless, I think.
They are. Your imagination is the one that's going to stop you, not our technology.
I love it. It's so cool. So can you talk, just because I want them to kind of understand a little bit more about the technology in a way that they might understand it, maybe tell us an example of something that you've done in the field, whether it's big, halftime show wise, or whether it's indie film. What kind of comes to mind in some ways you've used it?
As far as movies go, that's mostly NDA. But
no names, just tell us secrets.
But latest thing that people probably saw, it's Super Bowl. So the graphics. So we were in charge of the tracking. Actually, my first job could be interesting for filmmakers because one of my first jobs was Mariah Carey's Christmas special.
Oh,
and
nice.
We used, I believe, 9 RedSpys for that particular project. It was huge. It was really big. Usually you don't need 9 RedSpys. You usually have 1 or 2 tracked cameras, but sometimes if the project is big, you need more RedSpys or spiders, which spider is a module for a follower that I mentioned earlier, and that way you can track the cameras with a follower. So Super Bowl is definitely one of the bigger ones.
Well, tell me about the Mariah Carey project, because obviously we can talk about that. It's old now. Mm-hmm. You've been doing this a very long time. How did you use? So you had 9 RedSpys. What were they doing, and how were they tracking, and how did it all play out?
They were all installed 1 RedSpy per camera.
Okay.
Said that's why you have all these cameras were able to track.
Yeah.
So, and all of that was going into an engine, into an Unreal. We were using a stYpe, which is a plugin for Unreal, and that was pretty much it. And then lots of it was recorded as far as positional data or lens distortion and all of that. And so you were able to use it in post, which I think it's very interesting for the filmmakers.
Yeah.
Because what we often do, especially for broadcast, we use it real time. So everything is applied real time at that moment. And then for you, that's could be helpful because you're saving money
Hmm.
up front, but it's also really important that you record the data so that you can use later in the post. And then you can do whatever you want.
That's one of my favorite parts about it is one, the fact that you can record the actual thing you're seeing. You can record the whole background, all the tracking, everything in real time and have that, or you can have the green screen so you can fix it later. I think that's really special in another way as well. There's like, you guys are just special. You're just doing cool things. Is there anything new and exciting and cool you're announcing here? Anything new coming up?
There is, and actually we're doing presentations on every hour. So 11, 12, 1, and then like, so we have and I'm even going to play a little. So we're doing, so whoever is here at the NAB like should come by our booth and
Yeah.
then check out the presentation. It's like a 20 minute, and then we present everything. We present what we talked about, green screen with a green killer, and then we also present the XR with LED walls, everything that we kind of like
Yeah.
just touched a little bit, and so yeah, people can come over and see everything that we offer.
I love it. I love it. And you do it. Which, oh yeah, do you remember? You said Central Hall. You gotta look for them. You gotta find them. It's special.
Yeah,
Do you remember the number, the booth number? You guys
I
will find
don't. It's a Central Hall.
Central Hall.
Yeah.
Look for stYpe. You can't miss them. You'll see them.
Does it say on the badge? Maybe I can check it out. On
I
the
know,
badge.
right? We took all of our
Let me
badges
see.
off. We don't know anything. We have no idea. We have no idea what's going on. So, for those of you who are here with us, we're going to have back-to-back interviews today. We're going to have 3 more after this, and then
Is
we
this
are
name of
going
the-
to
of the
be
booth
back
or
again
not?
from 11 to 1 tomorrow. Check our schedule for who's coming up.
Can you check?
I will tell you
check
in a
online
second
what
who's
is
coming
the-
up
what
after
is- yeah.
this, but you definitely want to be here for that. So I guess in wrap up, I think the one thing I want to kind of instill in filmmakers is this sort of don't be scared of this bigger tech. Like, it's so easy for us as filmmakers to just go shoot on a green screen and fix it later. What can you say that's like, here's why you should consider using stYpe tech over just sort of the old school tech?
Well, I think it's you're saving lots of money. I think that's kind of like often like a primary concern, especially for indie filmmakers, because you usually don't have like a huge budget,
Right.
and then you have to figure out how to do it for less money, and then you can do it like maybe in one space, or like so you can combine it, and then you can create magic. As I said, like imagination is the one that's going to be stopping you. So as long as you prepare lots of things in advance, then shoot it, you're golden.
For someone to work with stYpe, what is the best way? Is this something they contact you guys directly? Is this stuff they get from a rental company, a rental house? Like, how do they get your gear?
Well, we have offices all over the world. We have it since you're primarily based here in.
Los
I mean,
Angeles.
your guys are primarily in U.S. Your audience, so we do have offices in L.A. We have a studio. So we work with several studios in Los Angeles, so people and interested clients, potential clients, can come over and check out the demo and see what we have to offer. But also they can go on YouTube and then just go stYpe and then see everything that we worked on, and then how they can how it actually looks like at the end.
Yeah. Cool. I'm so grateful you guys stopped by. I know you're busy in your own booth. You have, we found out where you're at. You're stYpe C6, I can't read that far. What are we at, the
6538.
doctor's appointment, or the eye doctor appointment? C6538. So
Yes.
Central Hall 6538. That's where you'll see stYpe. And I will see you guys over there at some point, hopefully. And we will see you guys in a moment at the, I don't even know what time it is, At 11:30 a.m., we will be live with No Film School. Jordan is going to talk the 5 biggest NAB announcements for indie filmmakers. So make sure you stick around for that, and we will see you at 11:30. And we're not out yet, so I'm going to do a little dance because John Curtis is doing this for his first time. Woo! Hello, filmmakers. We are back, and I am with No Film School's Jordan, who has got some exciting announcements. And John, are we on 2 cameras or 1 camera? Just me? This is all very confusing. There's no red lights. This isn't fancy filmmaking. Now we're on 2 cameras. See, now we're here. I don't know. Jordan! He is going to give us his top 5 exciting NAB show announcements for indie filmmakers. And I'm glad you're doing this. I hope you're ready for it because I have not had time to go see what's new.
Oh, really?
So I need to know what is new, Jordan.
Yeah, you got it. Luckily, we get a lot of stuff in advance, too, so we have a little head sight about what's coming down the pipe. But, all right, so the first one, I think, because we have some Blackmagic cameras here shooting this interview, was Blackmagic kind of kicked NAB off with some big camera announcements, notably the Blackmagic Ursa Cine 12K, which I think for our audience is really cool because it comes in at a price point for a high-end cinema camera. And I think we talked to Blackmagic CEO Grant Petty yesterday, and he called it his dream high-end cinema camera.
Really?
Which is...
Do what? Oh.
Yeah, we talked. We did a
producer / my husband, John Curtis, was like, you talked to Grant Petty in person? Like I'm like, whoa, he's real. Anyway.
Well, I mean, they're a big player in this space. I mean, Blackmagic has cameras, they have the video editing software, they have color grading. So when the big conference where it's for broadcast, but mostly video production and stuff.
Y'all, Blackmagic Design has the whole front of South Hall, the whole window, the whole side, all advertising for them. And then you walk in, they have the biggest corner booth. They know how to do things here. Blackmagic Design actually, along with the NAB show, sponsored this whole booth.
Right.
It was so kind of them. But anyway, so I haven't heard about this camera. So what, as a filmmaker who I love the pocket cinema cameras, the 6K, it's just like, it's so easy. I take it everywhere. It's plug and play, right?
Yeah.
So the new camera, how is it different from what you can tell?
Well, it's a high-end cinema camera, so it's large format. It shoots 12K. They have a 17K version, I think. And
what are people doing with 17K?
I mean, if you're just posting to social and Facebook and YouTube, I don't know if you always need all that. I think it's more for like video production crews, small to medium-sized teams. And I mean, you could shoot cinema quality, like you could do your feature film on a camera like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, the market's getting a lot more open. I mean, it's not just Blackmagic, but the space is getting a lot more affordable, and the barrier of entry to have a film career, have a video production career, or like shoot a film on the weekend with your friends to get into film festivals. You could do it a lot more. So like the Cine, I think a big point is just it's $15,000. Incredibly cheap compared to Sony Venice 2 or Arri Alexa.
Yeah. I can't wait to go see it. We have Blackmagic Design on tomorrow at 11. Blackmagic Design is sneaking into the frame right now.
Yep.
I don't know if we're in a 2-shot, but we should be. Live. We are live at NAB show. I love it. Okay,
Thanks,
great.
Blackmagic.
So that is a number. That's a number. We'll call it number 5, even though it really is number 1. What's number 4?
We're doing Blackmagic again. Well, they did multiple cameras, so I want to talk about each one, at least the 2 big ones to our audience.
We did not force him, by the way. We did not force him.
Blame Blackmagic for putting all their stuff out on Friday, because I feel like today is Monday of the conference. It goes through Wednesday. Usually I feel like, having covered it in years past, like you'll see some news will come early, some will come late, kind of. And so I think we're still in the middle of this like trickle. And I want to talk about it a little bit later, but like I feel like there hasn't been as much camera announcements so far this year as other years. So Blackmagic kind of did everything on Friday. So they have like the DaVinci Resolve 19 as a whole new update. They have some other color grading like solutions they put out. But yeah, they have this other camera, the Pixis 6K, which is like a box style 6K cinema camera as well. That was, I was trying to figure out, like, I feel like could be like a B cam to the Ursa Cine, but I feel like it also could be an A cam for a lot of people, and it's more modular, and you can treat it as like your cinema camera for, again, your production company or your horror short or feature film.
They have so many cameras. They have so many cameras. I can never keep up. I can't. It's funny because like I have DPs who they always have the newest thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. Until I got the pocket cam, I think I was on the Ursa forever. And before that, I was like, I don't even know what I was on. I was on the Ursa for so long. Like, I don't upgrade that much. But then you talk about these, and I'm like, I want all the things.
I mean, if I gave like real advice to anyone, I would say you can still get great used cameras. Like I've actually used the Pocket 4K, the first one when it came out. Like I've used it for years, and I think like the 6K Pro are great options. But I mean, I think for like around like the $3,000 price point, you could get tons of great options. You can have a career doing pretty much whatever you want with a lot of cameras that are out there right now. So I think like if you're buying a new camera right now, it's cool to see the new one and you're like in the market already. Like those can be really exciting, but you can also, like, you can find just whatever's the right option for you, I think.
I want to remind those of you who are watching to, if you have questions about anything NAB show related or anything that Jordan's sharing with us, please send them in. Producer John is on that. He will tell us if there's questions coming in.
So wait, what camera do you shoot on?
I shoot on the Pocket 6K.
Okay, nice.
That's my favorite. It's just so freaking easy. And then of course, like my phone, I have an Android. I think it's a 23 Ultra Galaxy, and it's so good, like for photos and video, and it's just like in your hand.
Yeah.
Unless I'm doing something like, obviously, if you're doing something cinematic, you're going to use my Blackmagic camera, but for almost everything else, like I see people doing TikToks, and I'm impressed. Like they have like all their depth of field and all these angles, and I'm like, yeah, no, here's my TikTok for you right here.
Just gotta get the ring light. Well, Steven Soderbergh shot like 3 movies now on iPhones and smartphone cameras and stuff, and
we do need a camera on you. Your reactions are hilarious. All right, number 3.
All right, number 3. Let me get my list back up here.
Cheat sheet.
I did want to talk about, we just wrote about it this morning on thefilmschool.com, the website that I write for. Adobe just announced some really cool, I'll say cool, but it might be terrifying to a lot of people, new AI features. So they have, basically, if you're familiar with generative fill, the Photoshop feature where you can kind of have a photo, you could like expand the edges, and then you could be like, I want to put in mountains or whatever, and then it will pull in like a generative AI. They're finally adding it, or they've announced that they're going to be adding it to Premiere Pro.
So we've been doing it for photos forever, like in Canva and all that, but video, that's a whole new level. I know it scares a lot of people, but I think when we're talking about indie filmmakers and things exciting for indie filmmakers, I feel like indie filmmakers are more excited for AI probably than the industry as a whole, because we can't afford to go get all the things that we need to get. So I want the AI options. We just shot a space movie. Well, it was supposed to be a kid's space adventure in space and on planets, and we couldn't afford it. So we shot it on Earth in a house. And even then, we're still like, we're missing a shot. If we could only AI in the background, pick the shot up.
Did y'all do it or try it?
No. But I don't think it works that great for video yet.
Yeah.
But that's why, I'll be honest, I'm sorry, Adobe, I'm not a Premiere Pro fan. And I'm sorry, Blackmagic, I love you and you take care of me, but I've been a Final Cut user for so long that when I go to these other programs, they're overwhelming and I just close them down. But that makes me like, I really want to know I want to be able to use those tools. That's great.
Yeah, I'm sure Final Cut will have some more AI too. I think everyone's going to.
I don't think Final Cut cares about us anymore. I don't think they're doing any updates.
I think that a lot of sentiment similar to a lot of other.
I can't even, like, half of my Final Cut, it doesn't work with anything. You can't, like, I love you, Final Cut.
You can use it on your iPad now, though.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting on my iPad. I had to cut something on Twitter, like when you cut on Twitter, and I'm just like, this is painful. Like, I need my full editing system. But, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a little bit more about it real quick that I think is really interesting that they're doing. They're giving users the option, so it's not just like Firefly, their AI, Adobe's AI that's doing it. So you can like go in and you can choose which model you want to generate images or video. So you can kind of go for like OpenAI or Runway, or I assume other places. And I think that's smart because they'll be able to like level up as the AI is leveling up, so they're not really like locked into what they
continuing to catch up.
Today. Yeah.
It's also, I think one of my hardest things with AI in general, and maybe that will help fix it, is like what I'll do, like if I just want to make a photo, like I just wanted to make my production company, well, it's Heart on Fire Productions, but we have Heart on Fire Studios, and I wanted to make like this dragon thing, and I kept going to different AI programs trying to create the thing to be like what I wanted, and I never fully got it. So maybe having something that aggregates all of them is pretty smart.
And it's a wild space. I mean, I think they've done a smart thing today. We'll see how it is in a couple of weeks when things change and like it keeps getting crazier. And I know our audience, because I think a lot of our audience is like video editors. Like I'm 36. Like I started in this after film school about 10 years ago. So I was right on the cusp of when Final Cut was kind of like not as popular as like Premiere Pro is having its run and stuff. But I think like having worked in the industry for a while, you kind of get set on here's how I like to do things, and here's how I like to manage my footage and my timelines, and how I like to I could do it super optimized and quick. And then the thought that like this AI could come in and basically, in theory, do all of the stuff you do and charge clients and build a brand as, it is really scary. And I think a lot of people are rightfully afraid that it might kind of suck into like their income and stuff. And we talked to Grant Petty actually about it yesterday, and I think a lot of players in this industry are aware of this, and they're trying to like ethically find this balance and stuff. And I haven't seen anything that's like replacing jobs just yet, but
I feel like we're so far from that. And I know that it could happen. There will be jobs that go away, but I also feel like anybody who feels their job is in jeopardy should probably just start learning these AI things so they can be the person operating it. I mean, it's just with any technology, with anything anything over time, like you always had to learn the new thing if you wanted to continue to grow. I don't know. I can see why it's scary, but I'm more excited for it than I am scared of it.
I think so too. And I do agree. If you're afraid of it, maybe try to learn it, and maybe you won't be as afraid because it might be not as impressive as you think. But also,
that's true.
I think it'll be like, oh, okay, I can maybe use it. Like, I don't know. Like, I remember when I started as an intern at a video editing like company, I was like transcribing by hand documentary interview footage and like typing it up and like sending it and like spell checking. And I was like, if I could do that with a button, even if they're like, you don't have an internship anymore, I'd probably been like, I would just rather do that.
Exactly.
It was not fun. And
all right, number 2.
Number
Number
4.
4, however you want to look at it.
Oh, you want to do 5 to 1?
I don't know. We're just Wild West in it now.
They're all number 1. These are all big stories.
They're all number 1.
Actually, this one's not as big, but
I take it back. This was number 2.
Well, I did want to talk about. Rode did some. They did some announcements that we kind of are checking out, and we're doing like a whole video feature on later. But they have like an iPhone camera cage option. And I just feel like smartphone videography is definitely a trend this year. It's been a trend for years, but I feel like it's kind of a lot of brands are recognizing that it's almost smarter to go smaller and kind of do their research and development for smartphone content creators and that whole world. And I think that's kind of, I'm seeing it across the board. I think even Blackmagic, we heard from them that their Blackmagic camera app is now actually going to be available on Android devices too. So
Terry, John just told me that they're going to have that, and I'm like, great. So where is it, and why am I not using it? And finally, someone's making something for my Android, and not just for stupid iPhone. It's funny, is I actually, we're wearing Hollyland mics, which are awesome, by the way. Thank you, Hollyland, for donating these to us for the show. But everything I have is Rode. Like my Rode mics are for my phone. Nice. We have the Rodecaster Pro for our live shows that are normally not in the chaos of NAB show. Like I am a big fan of Rode, and like even when our system went down and we were like, we'll pay to have it fixed, they just sent us a new one like for free. Oh, great company. So I'm glad that they're on your list. I just wanted to give that little shout out.
Well, I like them. My day where I was shooting the most, I was doing like run and gun, one-man band, like documentary projects and stuff. And that Rode video mic just on top of like my Canon 7D back in the day, it saved my life so many times. Because I would do it as a backup too. And I would do lapel mics and stuff. But just like, I don't know, you're out there for several hours at a rodeo or something, like you're going to run out of battery sometimes, or something's not going to work.
Or just the fact that I'm doing this right now. Can you hear me? Yeah. John wants to throw things at me right now. But yeah, Rode is always, I think they're so indie friendly in general. Like they're the ones who've made
There's pigeons in the convention hall.
Would it be really unhealthy if I picked up a pigeon right now and brought them on? Because I want to pick up the pigeon so that the audience can see this. There's pigeons distracting us from our live show.
I can't do a video.
Rode is but they're very friendly. I mean, they're the ones who I think everybody buys all their stuff for podcasting. We buy their stuff for, on the go travel stuff. So
Yeah, well, our audience, I think, is a little less content creatory and a little more like filmmaking and video production. But I think a lot of content creators are like learning their craft now, and content creation isn't as like a silly word to them. I think they're like, yeah, that's what we do, and we also want to shoot films. We also want to do these things. So I think Rode actually has some really good options and products that I think are helping. And they're not expensive because it's just smartphone videography. So you can get like a pretty lightweight, cheap rig that is durable, and you can go shoot whatever you pretty much want.
So I want to check out the cage because that's got to be so much nicer than the little squeezy, shove your cell phone in thing to hold it on your tripod. Okay, this is exciting. We have one last one, unless there's secret ones hidden still.
No, but we can discuss anything else.
We have one last one to share with you.
All right. Well, this was also before NAB. But I think just because talking to a lot of people here and a lot of filmmakers, a lot of video people, and then would like to go by the booths and see if we can get any intel. But Nikon's acquisition of Red, I think, is kind of a shadow over NAB this year, because I feel like those are two big brands, Red in particular, where we expect to see new camera announcements or some crazy new technology.
Yeah.
And this just happened, so we know it's like obviously going to take a couple of months of years before we kind of start to really see how it might shift the industry. But I think and I think a lot of our readers, like commenters and stuff, have kind of pointed out, like, this is a game-changing moment possibly for those brands. And I think Red.
It's funny you say that, because when I heard it, I literally was like, mouth drop, like, what?
Yeah.
Immediately went to look at Nikon stock to see if I should be buying it. And I'm like, why is no one talking about this? Why is there not, like, nothing? It was, to me, it was huge news. And no one was talking about it. But I guess we're here and it's kind of still quiet, like not much.
Yeah, well, I think, like, I'm happy to talk about it. I think it's fascinating. But well, I think all you can do about it is talk right now. There hasn't been much concrete. I think Red and Nikon have both issued statements saying, like, Red products will remain safe, I guess, for a word. Like, right now, like, we'll still keep updating them, but they have not. And I think the team will be in place. They've kind of basically said, but I don't think they've like set a roadmap of what's going to happen. And I know, just talking to some like cinematographers and DPs, they're very interested to see if there are going to be new Red cameras in the future, or if it's just going to be kind of Nikon is going to launch a cinema line to rival
it's interesting,
like Canons and Sony's.
I feel like the team up should be cameras and lenses. Like, no, you know, like that it just makes
one does
sense.
One well, one does
yeah.
does the other one
I mean, I'm not a Red fan. I'm one of those people that, like, I'm probably way too honest when I'm sitting
I want to hear
TV,
this, yeah.
But I'm just not. I've used Red a lot in my past products. DPs love Red cameras. I've only ever just not been thrilled with them. I've always been a Blackmagic design user. I think they're beautiful. I finally used an Airy and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, I guess I'm interested to see where it goes. But I'm not like, I don't know. I'm not like as excited if Blackmagic was to team up with. I don't even know who they would team up with. I was gonna say Canon, but that doesn't make any sense.
That'd be some news. We'll see. I always think competition is a good thing in this space, and I feel like we're in this like arms race right now of all these great brands like coming out with a new camera every NAB, every IBC, and the concept of 4K to 6K feels like ages ago, and it wasn't even that long ago. Do you feel
like the camera companies coming, because they do come out with new cameras every single year? Do you think that is because of shows like NAB show that makes them sort of, we got to have the new thing? Because really, you don't need a new camera every year.
Yeah.
And it's got to be expensive for them to keep making the new thing instead of focusing on selling the last thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just technology in general.
No, I agree 100%. I think us doing this is feeding to it a little bit. But I mean, I do think consumers and filmmakers and videographers, I think we're all winning in this because prices are dropping because of the competition and stuff. True. And then every time a new camera comes out, the last version usually gets a price drop, and it's probably just as good in a lot of ways.
Those pocket cams, when I heard the price, I was like, I couldn't believe it, because I would have guessed easily that they were going to be way more with how beautiful they are and how easy they are. So I do agree on that. And it's the same thing, I guess, with cell phone technology too. It's like, we don't need a new phone every year.
Right.
But then I didn't upgrade this year, but Samsung still gave us their AI features which actually they're kind of annoying me, Samsung. They're not really working like I'd like them to.
Oh.
But we're getting there. I think
Yeah.
we're getting there. But yeah, I think that like that's your job. So I mean, I mentioned Jordan's from No Film School. NoFilmSchool.com is where you can read all. You should just subscribe and read everything they do if you want to stay up on the. Because you don't just talk tech. I mean, you guys talk. There's been articles, if I remember correctly, on like best film schools to go to and film festivals, and like you guys kind of cover film as a whole in general. So like I think that it's cool to talk about all this and it's cool to stay up to date, but you must just be like, I couldn't do this for a living. I'm exhausted just for today.
Well, NAB is always fun. Yeah, we do tech, but yeah, I think a lot of us that have been a part of No Film School over the years, not that we hate film school per se. I went to film school.
Yeah.
I think most of us that are involved in No Film School did at some point. But I think the whole industry of filmmaking, I think we all kind of grew up in the same like DSLR era where I remember when I first saw like some like upperclassmen when I was at college, like shooting a film and got into Sundance and being like, oh, just like you could just do it. Like that was a new experience. So I think there's like a whole movement that kind of No Film School's been a part of, and a lot of other sites and filmmakers of like, here's more resources, here's a community, here's
same thing with Black
interviews with
Magic
filmmakers.
Collective. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's like you don't. If someone says, "Should I go to film school?" I will 99% of the time tell them no. And I didn't go to film school.
Yeah.
But I also know that there's only, for me, the only reason to go to film school is if you're going to use your connections to get you work, and you're going to use their gear literally every weekend. If you're not doing that, you're wasting your money. I'd rather put that money and make projects and learn on the job, and you'll make way more projects and be further along. So I love what you guys do. And that's the same thing with Black Magic Collective. We're like, how much information can we give you? How many resources? We're completely free. And we're just like, here's resources. Here's, learn this, come meet this person, come network here. It's like, just because it's all about, I think you grow as a filmmaker by meeting people and by getting out there and doing it. And I think that you guys seem to have the same philosophy.
Yeah, just go and shoot it. And yeah, we do a lot of like, I go to film festivals and interview filmmakers quite often, and usually kind of ask them like, what advice would you give like our readers, which are like aspiring filmmakers. They want to shoot their own horror films, they want to shoot their own projects and get into film festivals and stuff too. And I think always the answer, pretty much like the first line is like, just go do it. Just go shoot it. Grab whatever camera you can, make mistakes, lose footage, use the camera that you don't know how to use, and get to learn it as you go. Like that definitely seems to be advice.
I literally I tell people all the time, like, your first things are gonna suck. Don't go spend a bunch of money on them. And like, even when you're like a shooter director, like I try to teach shooters or directors to go out and become working directors. I'm like, you're not going to do it by being hired by a studio. You got to go do it.
Yeah.
And like, well, I don't know how to use a camera. Just pick it up and use it.
Yeah.
I actually had a whole footage once where everything was blurry. I felt terrible, but you know what? I still kept getting hired after that. You grow, you learn, you do.
Yeah, and you Googled how to make your footage sharp enough, like, and then you read an article.
Go to New Film School and you learn things. This has been great. Thank you for sharing all this. Thank you for going and doing all the hard work so we can just hear about them and then Google the things you're telling us about. And I guess, what's the rest of your NAB looking like? Just running around meeting more people? Yeah,
so we have a video team. We're partnered with a great group out of LA called Cinematography for Actors, and they're doing all of our YouTube content this year. We're writing articles. We're out and about posting on social, and just excited to be in the hub of it.
Love it. Thank you so much, Jordan. All right, you guys stick around, because coming up, I don't even know what time it is. Coming up in like 5 minutes, we are going to have Oscar, who is going to teach us everything he learned directing TV. So indie filmmaker to TV director. If you want to be directing TV, you need to stick around. So we'll see you in about 5 minutes at, what time did I say? Noon. We'll be right back. Hi! Hey! We're live again at NAB show at the League of Filmmakers booth. And before we start, I want to really quickly thank Blackmagic Design and NAB show for giving us this awesome booth, and for Hollyland for these cool little mics. These mics are so cute. They're like baby mics you just clip on. And what? Oh, sounds good, he said. I thought he was saying I should shut my face as being too loud. And then, which is usually, it's the producer today is my husband, and that's usually what he would say to me. No. He's going to kill me after this. I want to thank Sigma for our beautiful lenses that they've given us. We have 3 cameras set up thanks to Blackmagic Design and Sigma. And Aperture gave us this beautiful light, which I hope it's beautiful. I was just telling Oscar, our guest who you're going to meet in a second, that I feel like I'm a pasty ghost. But the lighting hopefully helps that. But anyway, what about? I thanked Blackmagic Design at the top. See, he's my husband. He doesn't listen. But we are here at this right now to talk with Oscar Rene Lozoya. Am I saying it right?
That's correct, yeah.
And he is going to talk to us about the things he's learned as a TV director. So Oscar's went from indie filmmaker to TV director, something so many of us, including myself, are on a path. It's our goal to do, and I am going to grill him. If you're watching, please send in your questions, because this is the time to get them answered. And Oscar! Oh, see if John was paying attention. Did that work? He's so proud of himself. Thank you for joining us. So let's just start off, but just tell us you've directed 2 TV shows or 3? I can't remember.
I've directed 3 different television shows.
3 TV shows. Which TV shows have you directed?
The first 2 were Law and Order SVU, and then I did a Chicago Fire, followed by an FBI on CBS.
That's awesome. Wait, you did SVU twice?
I did 2 SVUs, yeah. So 3 different shows, but 4 episodes altogether.
So did the two shows you did, where did you go and then they asked you back, or did you get it?
That's correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I did the first episode in February of 2022, and then the following year they asked me if I wanted to do another one in September of the same year, actually. So
see, he knows what he's doing. Also, you did procedurals, which when I watch procedurals, I just feel like those are beasts. You know, there's a lot of shows I would love to direct, and then there's shows where I'm like, I don't know if I want to take that on. Do you think the procedural was a big scary beast when you went to go do it, or were you excited? Like, how does that feel?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate where I worked on the show as an editor on Law and Order SVU prior to directing, so I knew kind of the formula. I knew what the producers liked and didn't like. As far as, working specific on procedurals, I enjoy them because it's really interesting where you have to follow, I'll use that word again, formula that they normally use, but they also want you to put your own spin and make it a little bit different and kind of keep the audience engaged. And so that's the challenging part is, the best way I could describe it that someone told me is it's almost like you're going to somebody's house, making them a meal, but in their kitchen with their food, but you also want to make it good for them.
I heard that Paris Barclay said, yeah. I don't remember what he used, cornbread or whatever, but it's like you're going to make their cornbread and then you're just adding a little bit of your own sugar.
Exactly. That's who I might have heard that from, actually.
Yeah,
Paris,
he's great teacher, great director. So that's already one thing he's learned, to be honest. So you were editing, but you're also, you're a filmmaker. You'll go out, you've made indie movies,
Mm-hmm.
Have you done features yet?
I've done features.
You've done features,
well,
what I thought. We've talked about so much. I don't want to confuse you with like other people and other things, and I know you've done shorts, and so you've gone out and you've done that, and then you went and did these big TV shows. Can you tell us what was one of the, I'll say the hardest things to go from indie to TV, or the trickiest things that comes to mind for you?
I think, and this is what when I've spoken to other television directors that have come from that indie world, this is something similar that they say is, in the indie world, you're kind of wearing a lot of different hats. And so you have everything you want in your head, essentially. And sometimes you don't have to communicate that with anyone because you're the one that's going to do it eventually. In the TV world, everyone has their own, or there's a head of a department for pretty much everything. There's a head of wardrobe, head of makeup. And so you're not wearing as many hats. And so it's super important that you just communicate with these people on every single thing that you're looking for in order to achieve your vision. And so I think that's something that you really kind of have to sometimes let go of, even if you're working with a DP, for instance. Maybe you want a specific shot, but then the DP has an idea. That DP works on the show, 22 episodes out of the year, and you're just there for 1 or maybe 2. So, it's your job to trust that DP and to filter out those good ideas and those not so good ideas. And so I think that's one thing that was very helpful, is just being able to kind of let go of some of the control, versus in the indie world, you have so much more control, which, isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing, but it's just different. So,
can you talk about, so I know that a lot of my fear, honestly, going to TV is working with DPs, because they do have more power, for lack of a better word, on that set. And there's, especially as a woman, we hear horror stories about dudes who just don't want to do what you want. And or you're a newer director to them, even though I've been directing for 20 years, you're new to TV. So like, where's that balance, that relationship of like, you don't really like what they're doing. You think it's wrong, but you don't want to do it, like, or, okay, that's fine, I'll do it. Like, how do you find that balance? How do you know which shots you should go along with? Is it kind of just an instinct thing when you're on set?
I think every show's a little bit different, and then also every DP is a little bit different. So it's kind of hard. That's also something about TV, that you just have to kind of learn how to navigate all these personalities. On one show, for instance, I had worked with a DP before, and so it was very much where if I wanted a shot, he would, no questions asked, we would figure out how to get it done. Whereas another show that was a little bit more stunt heavy, if there was a shot that he thought maybe we could get rid of or something, he was a little bit more open about that. And so I think for me, finding the balance is, just really the biggest thing would be just being a director in general, is just having really good communication skills. If there's a shot you want, you have to tell them why you want it. Yeah. And if they still don't agree, then that's their job too, is to tell you why they don't agree. And then either figuring out, I don't like to say a compromise, but figuring out a middle ground in a sense, in order to get still your vision, what you're trying to achieve in that specific episode. And this goes back to just something in elementary. I really believe in the golden rule. I know you're saying, it's tough coming in as a newcomer, and even though you've been directing longer than some of these people, I still, my motto is you still have to be respectful no matter what. And some people just aren't nice people, and if they're not nice, you have to kind of be above that. And I think just step over it, but still treat people respectfully as if you would want to be treated.
Yeah. Jen McGowan, I think, actually said that she says yes as much as possible on set. So when she says no, it has more weight, or it matters. So you reminded me of that with that other advice. So we talk about like coming from indie world to the TV world, and one of the things I've heard from showrunners that has been a problem for them with indie filmmakers is not that we don't know how to get it on time, not that we don't know how to call the shots to do our job. It's that we don't spend enough money. We don't know what to ask for. We don't even think, I should ask for this jib, or I can ask for a helicopter or whatever. Yeah. Can you talk to us about your experience and like knowing what to ask for?
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing too. Every show is a little bit different. So literally, whenever I start a new show, I ask them, do you guys have crane days already in the budget? Do you guys have this already in the budget? And I think just having that communication with the line producer, and them telling you up front, kind of a general idea of what they normally do. Like on Chicago Fire, for instance, on my episode, I had 2 crane days. And the interesting thing was, one of my big stunts was inside. And so I asked them, I'm like, hey, can I actually use the crane indoors even? And they were like, yeah, you have it. You have the crane day. Let's do it. So, that was something that was a little bit different that, from my understanding, not a lot of people had ever done before, was actually use a crane for an incident. But I thought it would be cool and just give it a little bit of, like we said, or Paris says, a little bit of extra spice on it. But there was another show that I did where they don't normally do cranes. It was more of a on your feet type of show. They don't normally do cranes, and it was between a crane that I asked for or a bigger building. And that's when you have to honestly balance out those two things. The bigger building, I looked at the pages and it was only half of a page. So I said, this is, the crane shot that I wanted. It would have been in the opening. That's way more important than this half a page that goes by so quick. So I weighed out the pros and cons, and I went with the crane on the first day of shooting. And so I think, that's kind of for me anyway, that's what I try and do, is I just right away talk to the line producer and say, what do you guys normally do? And I think it's always better to ask for more, and they'll tell you no. That's something one of my mentors, Roberto Barba, told me as well. It's always better to ask for it, and then they'll take it away, I shouldn't say take away, they might ask to trade off something if it doesn't work for their budget. So
there's so many things you said in there, and I'm trying to keep note because I want to, I don't want to forget to talk about them. But one is, I want to point out to filmmakers, one of the important things that Oscar mentioned was not being scared to ask for things. So not only not being scared to ask for things, but not being scared to ask the production team, you know, your line producer, your showrunners, like, what do you normally do? Like, that's an important thing I think you can ask and not feel like, because I think we come in like this, like, we don't want them to know that I don't know what I'm doing. I've never directed TV. And it's better to be like, this is my first time on your show. Do you guys do this? What do you like to do? Those questions I think are great. There was something else you said that I got distracted in the mic switch. It'll come back to me. But like, it was, God, it was so, you're giving me so much good stuff that like, it'll come back to me. It was the indie film thing. So going from, when we're in indie film, one of the things that we're always stressing on ourselves, and if you're not doing this, you're doing yourself a disservice, is you need to get in film festivals and you need to get the distributor to buy your film when you're doing indie film. And I'm always pushing for that opening shot. Like, that first shot is so important in indie film. And I think taking that mentality with you to TV is actually helpful, because you could think, oh, it's TV, it's whatever. They have a cold open, they run in the room and they just go, ah. But if you can take that indie filmmaker mentality of like, how do I wow them in the shot? Not just the audience in this case, but also your bosses, the people you want to bring you back. So I love that you made that decision about opening shot versus the big building for a small thing. It's great. Okay, I don't even know how many, there's so many great things already. So what's next? So as an indie filmmaker going in, is there anybody asking questions, by the way? Okay, good, just making sure. And
actually too, just to jump on, besides just equipment, not asking for enough stuff, even if it's something simple like VFX too, like one show they always try to go practical versus another show goes green screen. So that's why in all the meetings, you know, normally when you start prep, you have a concept meeting and you have all these various production meetings. And so it's always good to ask them, how do you guys normally do it? If we wanted to do it this way, would that be okay? And the reason I say that is because, you know, you in your head might be thinking, oh, we're going to shoot this practically. And if you don't ask that question, how do you guys normally do it? When you show up on set and there's nothing but green screens, or when you show up on the first day of your VFX meeting and there's nothing but green screens, you're going to be in for a little bit of shock. So it just helps you, you know, prep, and in the long run, if you just ask those questions up front right away.
Yeah. And I think on top of that too, watching and knowing the show forward and backward is so important, because I think when you're an indie filmmaker, like you said before, it's all in our head. We know what we want. You can't go into a TV show not knowing what their show is.
Right.
So like, if I'm going to go to direct discovery, I need to look at the sets on the show. How are they playing out? Because you could go on set and be like, oh, this is all this cool stuff. But if that's always just a background piece, let it be a background piece. Or you might say the opposite. Maybe you say, do you guys ever shoot this? Wouldn't it be fun to shoot this? And maybe the DP's like, oh yeah, we never shot that. That's a cool thing, you know?
Yeah.
So that's great advice. What else comes to mind for you? I feel like this interview is going to be over before I have a chance to ask everything. So what else comes to mind for you? So you were an editor before you had your first directing job. And I always tell filmmakers, if you don't know how to edit, you need to learn to edit, because especially on set, if you can edit in your head, you're going to be a far more effective director, getting way less crap, taking way less time. How do you feel your editing helped you move into the show, or into directing in general?
Yeah. So, and just so you know a little bit of my backstory. So I started off in news as a photographer editor, and then I went to, I worked for the NBA, the semi-pro basketball team, the Bakersfield Jam. And there I was an actual broadcast director. We don't have them much anymore, but it was with TriCaster. So we'd stream live and I'd say, you know, camera one, camera two, that stuff. So I kind of went from editing to directing, and then back to editing. And then I would direct movies or shorts, what have you, on my hiatus. So I was always kind of in the directing world, even when I was editing. But I think what helped me the most, truthfully, there's a couple things. Being able to just talk to directors, it's an awesome training ground, because as an editor, you get all the footage. And if something doesn't make sense, or it was really good, you have the opportunity, because they're in the room with you editing, to ask him, why did you do this? And they could, you know, they have a million different reasons. They could say, oh, the production was running late, so I had to combine 4 shots with 1. So that's why I just did a oneer for this whole scene. You know, and this is the way, these angles are the way I thought that it would tell the story or convey the story better. And I'm actually glad we ran out of time because I would have never thought of doing this oneer, and we did it. So, things like that, I think just those small little experiences that you could learn from working from all these directors, I think that was awesome being an editor. I also think, just like you said, just knowing the show, you kind of get in a rhythm as how much the show shoots. If they go one camera, if they go two camera. As an example, like on Chicago Fire, if they're doing a big stunt day, they're more than likely going to shoot with 3 cameras. So that's something that you kind of have embedded in your mind as far as for rhythm and just production, and it just helps you learn kind of the style of the way they shoot. And another thing too is you learn all the rules of the show, so you know what not to do. On pretty much all the Dick Wolf shows, you never really want to break POV, meaning you never want to know information before our cops or our firefighters or our guys do. So for instance, if you see a drug deal in another room and the cops aren't there, you know that you can't actually shoot it inside of the room. You have to be looking outside of the room from the detective's point of view. So there's a lot of things like that as an editor that I'm very thankful that I learned from. And then, like you said too, just being able to know when that if you're running late or you're trying to be a little bit more efficient on one scene so you can have more time on another, what's the bare minimum that you need to still tell the story well. And if something happens and you need to start dropping shots, what do I need in this scene that's still going to convey the story?
Yeah. So I would love to talk about stunts on a big show like that. Mm-hmm. So I've done stunts in the past, but I just did a very heavy, we'll call it a mass battle, but there was 12 cast members in one fight happening at once.
Yeah.
In an indie short. And it was basically, we had our Casey was amazing as our stunt choreographer, and he kept everything safe, but he did everything. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about doing that indie film where usually you have one guy doing everything versus what are we getting when we're on your shoot? Are you involved in those rehearsals? How many stunt people? Anything you can think of to share about stunts?
Yeah, and I think every show is a little bit different. On my first show, as an example, when I did Law & Order SVU, my cold open was pretty big, where I had a girl getting burned alive in the cold open, and then later on in the scene, I had another girl getting hit by a car. It was a very violent episode for some reason, but they're not a big stunt show, and so when I had the meeting with the stunt coordinators, this is the game plan that I told them. I said, I'm thinking A, B, C, D. And they said, well, I was thinking E, F, G. And I said, well, if we do A, B, C, D, then, this is the result. And I'm thinking about it like this. This is my ultimate goal. And I think it'll be more efficient if we shoot it this way. And so the stunt coordinator and I said, okay, let's do it that way. So on that show, because they're not stunt heavy, I think the director has a little bit more input on how to shoot those stunts. Whereas on Chicago Fire, they've been doing that already for, over 6 seasons. And so they have a rhythm. They have an amazing, amazing stunt team that even if I wanted to give input, I still wouldn't be able to come up with an idea as good as their stunt team because they just have it down to a science. They're amazing. On FBI, they have a stunt coordinator who's incredible. And that stunt or the stunts on that show are a little bit different. On my episode, we didn't really rehearse them. I just kind of went with the stunt coordinator during the tech scout, and I told him what I was thinking. And then from there, we kind of worked on it on the day. Versus other shows, I don't know if I've told you about this, but I recently got accepted to the Paramount directing program.
Congrats.
So, yeah, thank you. So I was able to shadow on NCIS. And for their stunts, they actually had a whole day of rehearsal, which was awesome because I've never experienced that before, where the 2 actors actually came in with the stunt guys. They rehearsed the whole scene, and the director was able to give input based off what the stunt coordinator had actually choreographed. And so that's the thing, is every show is a little bit different, and that's kind of why, too, it's always good to just ask, how do you guys do these stunts? Do you primarily choreograph everything, and then I come in and give notes? Do you want me to choreograph everything? And it's always good just to kind of get a little bit of a heads up, and you could ask that to your line producer. And a lot of times, too, all these shows will have directing producers or even the ADs. The ADs are incredible. Every day that I've had on every show, I've been really blessed with because they've been awesome. So they're also a good resource of just ask, how do you do it on this show?
When you are dealing with stunts and asking, I guess when you said to them, I want to give input on this stunt, I think that I guess where I'm trying to go is like I think filmmakers are often scared to push back in any way, or it's not push back's not the right word, but ask questions or try to collaborate when they're new to TV. So, can you talk to us about what a collaboration feels like when you're like you see this whole stunt being done? What was something you asked to change it? Do you remember?
I mean,
Or did you just go, "This is great"?
No. On the FBI show, for example, the one, we had some, when you read a script, it's always different in everyone's mind. The way I read it is going to be different from the way you picture it in your head. And so I was very fortunate. Like I said, it's all just about collaboration, where when we were tech scouting, I spoke to the stunt coordinator on how I had it in my head, how they would actually be laying down on the ground in every direction. And then it's just a back and forth. I would say, I want them this way in this direction. The gun will be over here. Then the stunt coordinator would say, oh, that's amazing. What if we had the gun over here instead, just to make it more accessible? And when he does this turn, it's a little bit smoother. And so I think that's where, as a director, you have to say, is this actually right or wrong? And he's amazing. And when he told me this, I was like, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, let's do that. So I've been very fortunate where all the stunt coordinators I've worked with have been very collaborative. And everything that I've brought up or mentioned in regards to changing, they've been all about it and trying to still meet somewhere in the middle where we're both happy.
So in our last few minutes here, I'm just going to say what comes to mind for you as far as it helped that you had this editing experience, a little bit of experience with your show. But when you go to a new show, maybe you don't know the show, maybe it was your first show. What comes to mind for you that you're like, I wish I had known this, or thank God someone told me this? Is there some sort of advice you can impart to filmmakers for when they're going to do their first TV show as a director?
Yeah. I think one of the things that's helped me out the most is just having mentors. It's always good to just bounce ideas off of somebody. I have another, I mentioned Roberto. And even when I wasn't working on Law & Order SVU, I would still call him sometimes and ask him, like, hey, I have this situation. I'm thinking this. What do you think? And just kind of getting a sounding board. And that's always very, very helpful, just because you have so many things going on when you're a director. It's kind of crazy. Like, you get asked probably one question at least every 30 seconds. People always coming up to you asking you the craziest things that you would never even think. Like, do you want purple or do you want more lavender? Do you want, so things like that. That's one thing I will say is if you have an opportunity to get somebody that you really trust and that you like. Another mentor is Mike Smith. And so when he did when I was doing my first episode of SVU, I asked him specifically because he had done so many in the past, and he gave me a lot of really good advice. The other thing I would say too is it's always good. This is what I try to do is, normally when you prep, your days aren't very long. Normally you'll prep till about 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and then you get to go home and prep from home and work on the following days. What I like to do is, at least the first couple days, is I'll try and actually go to set and I'll try and meet the cast and the crew, just so it's not such a cold introduction when you show up on day one of shooting. So that's a really big piece of advice that I got from somebody, and it's always been very, very helpful for me.
Great.
Yeah.
We could go on and do this more. I think that we need to have a whole event where we just bring you and some other TV directors and let the audience go crazy asking you questions. For those of you who are watching, we have one more live interview coming up at 12:30. And who is that interview? Oh yeah, so Gals and Gear coming. Danilda's going to be here at 12:30 to talk about women filmmakers. Time to gear up. Stop being scared of tech. Let's do this. Oscar, I'm so grateful for your time and for you stopping by here at NAB Show. Thank you again to Blackmagic Design at NAB Show for this beautiful booth. To Aperture and Sigma and Hollyland for all of the gear you've given us. And we will see you guys in about 5 minutes. And now we just do this.
Okay. Yeah.
While we wait for John to find the button. So I'll go here first, and then he's going to go to, hi, we're back. I have to pee. I haven't eaten. I'm very tired, but I am excited because not only are we going to talk gear, female filmmakers, it's time to gear up, but we've got Gals and Gear here. Did I even say that right? I'm so
Gals and
twisted.
Gear, you got it.
We've got Gals and Gear here. Danilda is going to talk to us. And hello. Hi.
It's so good to meet you and see you again. How are you?
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I feel like this topic, okay, my producer / husband keeps telling me I'm talking too loud, but I'm excited.
Do you want to have a little powwow? Just
Can I
tell a couple secrets?
I know. I have to talk excitedly with a quiet voice. But I am excited because I talked just the other day, like on Friday, I was talking to my women directors because I help coach women directors who are trying to learn how to be working directors, and they're scared of tech. And I'm just like, yo, you don't have to be scared. Like, you pick up a camera, use it, get used to it. That's how I learned. I taught myself everything, and that's why I think this topic is so important. And I think Gals and Gear is important, and what you guys are always doing. You're always trying to make tech more accessible, and you're trying to do more tech things. So let's start first of all. So the audience who doesn't know you, tell them who is Gals and Gear.
Okay, well, Gals and Gear is an organization that started because we just needed more women in the business to know that we're here, that we are capable, that there are experts at events like NAB, at events like Infocom, and all these other conferences. We're here and we're professionals, so we should be on stages. We should be speaking. We should be representing women who know the tech, who know the software, and so that's kind of where we started. So we've evolved into a program that we have a speakers bureau. So if you want to get put on stage and you can hang out with us, we have a beta testing program, and we just hang out online at our Techquity Hub and just work on upskilling and just support women in production and tech in any way possible.
I love how much you've grown. I remember when it was first being formed. I believe it was an NAB show that Amy kind of had this idea, and it just,
let me tell you this,
blew up.
Amy was going to the restroom and seeing that, unlike any other event that women attend, there was no line in the girls' bathroom, but the men's restroom had a long line. And she says, "Where are all my gals?" She sent out a text message, and there we started. So everywhere we go, we're Gals and Gear. Use the hashtag if you want to get to know us, and that's kind of the heart of it is, we are here. Let's come and find each other and support each other.
I love it, especially at a show like NAB show that is massive.
Yes.
I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I'm pretty tech savvy, and I still feel overwhelmed going up to booths and talking. It's definitely a lot of men here, y'all. There's a lot. Okay, I mean, if you're a single female, then you should probably be here. There's a lot of dudes here. But this is one of the most fun, exciting shows. I love NAB shows.
I think women don't put themselves out there because we feel like we have to be buttoned up. That's what we keep hearing from the women that come and hang out at our events. They're like, oh my God, this is such a good space to connect, to learn, to see that we're not alone in figuring things out, whether it's cameras, software, whether it's post-production related. And so I feel that one of the strengths that we have as Gals and Gear is to say, just come and be yourself, and you're already awesome. Let's plug you into the community because you belong here.
And I think that one of the important things that women should remember, especially about these conventions, is it's the vendors want to talk to you. It's not like, say, when you've gone to maybe a Comic-Con in the past and you feel like dudes are being, like, vendors want to talk to you. They want to teach you. So it's a very different time. It's like, come do it, come be it. Let's talk about gear. So first off, you guys have a new tech thing that you're creating.
Yeah.
I want to start with that, and then we'll spin off onto how to get you women more comfortable with gear. So what you said, it's a Techquity. What is it?
So we call it our Gals and Gear Techquity Hub.
Techquity.
Techquity, which is technology and equity. We
Nice.
believe the two should go together, right? So if you are trying to find a place to kind of upskill and maintain yourself current, but don't know where to start, come and hang out with us once a month on Tuesdays at noon Eastern time. We do a meetup, and we have either a software or a hardware company come and join us and share about new innovations, whether it's audio, camera, whatever. Even
And that's
cloud-based.
it's like online, so you can do it from anywhere in the world.
You can do it from anywhere in the world. You go to galsandgear.tv. I got tangled up there. And just sign up, and it's free. You can come there. What's great about that is that it's a platform that you can use perpetually. in addition to meetings. So if you want to use it for a meetup with a potential client or to screen a film, we have a film screening room there as well. The other really cool feature is that our sponsors and partners, they we have a space set up for all of their free training software, whether you want to level up on things like creating graphics or audio software or streaming software. We have a bunch of resources there for women filmmakers
cool.
and women in tech.
And that's all free?
It's all free, yeah.
Y'all,
Come, galsandgear.tv.
I won't have it now, but later when you're watching this, galsandgear.tv. It's going to be right there.
Here at NAB, as far as upskilling, one of the things that we do is our Women's Connect conference, which is Tuesday from 8 to 1, and there's a lunch involved. And what we do there, we work on networking skills, we work on branding and self-branding, we have panels, we have experts come. It's a really good intimate spot where you can really just meet people from all over the industry.
I didn't know about this. I have to be live from 11 to 1. Can I come from 8 to 11?
You can come as long as you want. It's a ticketed event, but you need to come and hang out with us. I might know somebody.
This just sounds so great. I know a lot of women too who watch this who are filmmakers. They're not. No woman I know is like just a filmmaker.
Right.
They're producers. They're directors. They're authors, and they're speakers and whatever. And so, the fact that you kind of encompass a place for them to go be all of who they are is really cool.
I like to say we're so much a community of Jane of all trades, right? It's not a jack of all trades, you're a Jane of all trades. And it's so important why women like you should be doing this kind of thing. You really need to be able to see yourself represented. And I know that you're saying women come from different skills, but sometimes we see in our community that women say, I'm not the expert in post-production, so therefore I can't represent.
Oh.
But that's not true. It's what you're
Let's
saying is
talk
true.
about that.
Yeah,
that is so important. Y'all, women, listen to me for a second.
Own it.
Seriously, like it's one of the things that drives me nuts because like a dude, especially a white dude, I love y'all white dudes, but y'all confident as mofos. And a white dude will apply to a job. Like if I'm like, okay, I need a DP who can do these 10 things. They'll be like, I can do 2 of those, and they will apply. A woman will go, oh, I can do 9, but I can't do all 10, so I won't apply. Y'all, you've got to be confident in who you are and your skill set. And on top of that, now when we're talking about gear, there's one thing for me that I really encourage women to do, which is basically just pick it up and use it.
Yeah.
What is your philosophy when it comes to like, whether it's cameras, whether it's editing software, whatever, how do you guys sort of get women to not be afraid of?
We try our best to encourage women, not through a beta testing program that we just started last year. So when it comes to software, we try to get women to sign up so that they are the ones at the helm of trying what's new and what's out there, which is amazing because in a beta testing program, you are going to go ahead and try something that is still being tested out. So why not? You don't have to know all the bells and whistles. You give feedback, you make friends in the industry, and then you learn new tools. And that's so important. When it comes to the physical gear, I think women don't realize often that all you have to do is ask, get your hands on it, try. I find that a lot of vendors are happy to include creatives and content creators and just say, hey, yeah, I'll support you. Try this out and let us know what you think, whether it's a camera, whether it's software, and just ask.
And the thing is, it's like, it's one of those things where women, when you're talking about gear and picking up gear and you're like, but I don't know what to do, you're not going to hurt it. You can play with all the settings and totally screw up all the settings and then hit factory restart. Like you can't hurt it.
Yeah. And get it ahead of time. That's one thing that I would recommend. There's rental places. We use Lens Rental. They're a great partner of ours, and they you can rent something for a week and just play with it. You don't have to have it for a job. You can create something just for the sake of creating while you're learning, and just involve more women that are in the same situation.
Yep.
Don't take that for granted.
I also encourage women to because I'm so push women like they need to be paid to direct. Like I'm like that's working directors all about that. Like you need to get paid. I don't care if you're getting paid $50.
Yes.
Start getting paid to direct.
That is gospel.
But when I do say that, I will say that the caveat is if you're not comfortable with gear, but you want to be a director shooter because that is where the money is,
right.
At least in the beginning, until you can start getting bigger budgets and hiring all the people, you can just do it for free. Do like 2 jobs for free. That way there's no, you don't feel bad.
I gotta say though, even if you're gonna do something for free and you're not getting paid with money, there's bartering that you can participate in, and you can do it in a way that is strategic. So don't just barter because they need something from you. Find a way where it's a win-win. Both parties have to give up a little something, and both parties have to gain a little something. If that's not it, then
I love it.
That's not necessarily the best. But
I love
yeah.
it. And I feel like when you do the first job or two for free, you take off the pressure that you're getting paid for this thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well now you're scared to ask for money. Well, then do the next job for $200.
Yeah.
You know, like then
Level up
yeah,
mentally.
exactly. And then there's a point where you're like when you get to my level where you're like, I'm not going outside there's a certain amount of money that gets me to go outside. You want me to take my camera too? Oh God, that's a lot more money. Like I am become very lazy about like, you got to pay me.
Well, you're like your hashtag goals for a lot of our audience, right?
But but I started literally. I did free jobs. I taught myself how to use a camera.
And different types of jobs too.
Oh yeah,
that's really important because you're also working with different types of people. You're learning different forms of narrative or non-narrative, unscripted.
Absolutely,
that's so important because each style is going to bring out a different.
I love that you brought that up too, because one thing I like to push home is that like even on those boring jobs, you're like, I'm just getting B-roll and some talking heads. Right. It's like, yeah, but you are learning that gear. You're learning what you like for lighting. You're learning lenses. You're learning. There's so many things that you're picking up.
Yeah. It's so important. If you approach everything as a learning situation, you're going to see the opportunity in it. But you also are building yourself up. So you can't shut yourself down just because it's not the ideal job for you, and you can't discredit yourself because you haven't done, Oscar-worthy work yet. You'll get there. Take your time. Learn the basics.
For sure. I think that when it comes to gear as well for women and getting your hands on gear. There was one thing you said, which is vendors want to help. And I think women are often scared to ask to borrow stuff, whereas dudes will all day be like, can I have this for a few hours? Can I have this for overnight to try it out?
And then they're so happy to be like, yeah, man, bro, we got that.
Yeah.
You got to be like, sis, I got you.
Yeah.
Right? It's really important to get out there and network, not just for the sake of making money on each job, but making connections that become your industry friends and supporters. And I think that's one of the things that personally I've learned with Gals and Gear in my career growth is that I can do that, and no one tells you that. And so I feel like with Gals and Gear, we do a really good job of saying, hey, come here, you need this, I know someone, I know a guy who can do that, and that someone might be Black Magic, that someone might be NAB show, or it might be someone like Hollyland. Right?
You know how I got my first Black Magic cameras?
No,
I asked.
Yes.
Literally.
You have to ask. You can't be afraid because no one knows what you need until you say it, and we don't do that. We don't do it well enough. And so if there was one thing that we would say, whether it came to something like signing up for a beta test, hey, I want to do something with Adobe or with Black Magic, and they're looking for beta testers, put yourself out there. The worst that can happen is a no. And then you go to another door and you knock on that door instead.
Yep.
And that is incredibly valuable for women's careers.
And for instance, you have friends who will loan you stuff. Like I have for the working directors, I'm like, anytime you guys want borrow cameras, they're yours, because people will take care of you if they see you out there doing the hustle and really wanting to try. Before we're out of time, I want to talk a little bit about your history because you're not just like running around singing the praises of Gals and Gear. Like you've been in the trenches. I mean, you've streamed for some of the biggest companies out there. I mean, streamed. It's lunchtime. You've produced for some of the biggest, companies out there. Talk to us about some of your favorite jobs and what you've done, and like sort of how it related to you getting okay with gear.
Well, I grew up. I started with live experience and post-production. And post-production is my heart. I'm an editor at heart, and then I keep getting put into producing roles. So once I realized that's a strength I'm recognized for, I just started activating my network. In film school, I was one of like 2 women in my cohort, and my guys are working in Hollywood. They're working in the same kind of productions. And so instead of just sitting there and kind of initially in my early stages of my career, instead of just sitting and just wishing I was one of the guys, I was like, I'm going to be one of the guys. Hey, what are you doing this year? What projects are coming on, and activate your network that way. So I've worked with documentaries and commercials. I've worked with one of my favorite projects actually is on National Geographic, and it was by Dawn Porter about the Tulsa, Oklahoma fire in the 1920s, and it lined up really well with what was going on at the time. I was just a field producer there. I say just, and you shouldn't do that. Don't say just. You're never just anything.
Yes, thank you.
And so that's what I'm working on too. But every job kind of leads to the next. You leave a good impression, and when you like working with someone, continue to pursue them. And that's what I've done. A lot of interviews, documentary work, and also I do a lot of, one of the things that I'm the proudest of working on is work for nonprofits and work for example, I did a project, I can't name the client, but I did a project to help with media literacy for teenagers, to kind of help with the mental health aspect of it. And it's a huge initiative in the East Coast. And once it's public, I'm going to be sharing a lot about it, but I'm super excited. So that's kind of what I do. I've been faculty. I love young talent. I love recognizing it and saying, hey, you've got what it takes. Let's get you going. Let's put this thing in your hand, microphone, camera, post-production, whatever.
I love it. I love what you're doing. You're doing so much good stuff in so many different ways. I feel like when it comes to the topic we're talking about, women gear up, Gals and Gear is a very great resource. Definitely go check that out. Your other women around you that are doing the thing, because what I think, one of the things you said to me was about activating your network, and I feel like that's something that we don't do enough as women, is we don't want to bother people. We don't want to be a bother. And really, like, if it's reciprocal, if you come to me and you're like, Jen, can I come help you on set? Then guess what? When you ask me for a favor later, I'm gonna have to say yes. So like,
it's reciprocal.
It is, yeah. So like, activating your network is so important, and I don't think we always think about that when we talk about the tech, because there really is it's a support system.
Yeah.
I didn't know everything I was doing all the time. I learned it by using it. I learned it by asking questions, and I love that we're learning and growing together as sort of a collective of women filmmakers, and
I mean, what you guys are doing in your organization, Post Collective, right?
Black Magic Collective, yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, but it's really, really amazing to be able to look at women and see camaraderie. You see a sister in arms almost, and have that approach when you make an ask to collaborate, right? So that reciprocity is beyond just the positive. You have to think, if you're saying to yourself, oh, I don't want to bother someone, stop for a second before you make the ask and ask yourself really why. Why am I thinking that I'm a bother? Instead, flip the question and say, what can I offer this person?
Yes.
How can I help them, and how can we collaborate? So I've made a practice of switching my ask to how can we collaborate instead of what can you give me? And that has empowered me, and I teach that to the young talent that I work with as well.
That's some of the best advice I think anybody will ever give, and it's still advice I'm learning myself, because it's scary to ask.
It is scary
as you level up, especially. Like,
there's a lot at stake.
Yeah, you keep going. I don't want to ask this next level of person, but find a reason to ask.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I want to also take this moment, since we are talking about women in camaraderie, that we now have the Female Filmmaker Collective. It's a spinoff of Black Magic Collective. Completely free to join. Our first event's coming up in May, so make sure you go to femalefilmakerscollective.com and sign up now to get that info. Thank you to Black Magic Design and NAB Show for giving us this awesome space. Thank you to Sigma for the lenses, to Hollyland for these cool little mics, and to Aperture for the lighting. Thank you to my husband / actor writer, John Curtis, who's over there producing the show. And he's a pro at it. He's been over there switching, doing cameras, fixing mics. You don't even know what's going on. So proud. You're going to get all the kisses. Aww, and thank you to Danildos and Gals and Girl for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We are done for the day, but we will see you back tomorrow at 11 a.m. And we have some really great things. And starting 11 a.m. tomorrow is Black Magic Design themselves. So if you have questions for them, you better join us. All right. Peace out, y'all. Still never out.